Welcome to the Love, Sex and Freedom podcast. This is where you're going to discover how to bring awakening into the body and into everyday life through powerful tantric teachings. Get ready to release, open and step into your true power. Actually, being raw, being naked, being ourselves is ironically what it takes to be fully expressed, right? But we're so busy trying that we miss that. But actually, that is the easiest, right? If you just kind of say how you feel and what you think as you go, and you're not holding on to all of this stuff and letting the elephant be in the room. But it's difficult for a few reasons. One, because we're not taught how to do that. We're taught how to be in the mind, and the mind actually isn't the authenticity. The mind is never the authenticity. So if you notice when you're talking to someone or when you were even watching the different expressions, when you can feel someone, when you can feel the energy, that's when it's the most evocative. That's when it has the biggest impact on the body. And we're not really entrained in that in any way in school, right? We're just taught to sit down and listen. We're not taught how to feel and be where we are and allow that to overflow. So that's the first reason. The second reason is because we have fears that are connected to our expression relative to how our parents responded to our expression. So my mum and dad were always very encouraging of my full expression, mostly. The only thing that was shamed, which is the thing that I find the most difficulty with, was my vulnerability. Whenever it comes to, I'm never short of words, but ask Matisse, if I'm crying or if I'm in my vulnerability, it's so hard for me to speak. And I've gotten a lot better thanks to him and thanks to his best friend who helps me a lot with shyness and vulnerability. And sometimes it'll just take me a long time. And he used to have this trick where he would be like, you don't have to say, you don't have to express. And mean it, I think. And be very unattached to me sharing. Whereas in the past, whenever I've got to that point of feeling sensitive, my partners have become quite forceful. They're like, come on, this is your piece. You need to express, which would just make me go even more into a shell. So I want you all to close your eyes down and feel into what would happen when you expressed certain parts of your being. How did your parents respond to you expressing your truth? Because how they responded to you expressing your truth will be directly connected to how easy it is for you to express your truth now. Did they shame you when you had a different philosophy or perception of them? Would they become very dominating? How would they respond when you asked for what you needed? Would they become defensive and shame you because that implied that they were failing? Or would they listen to what you need and respect that and attune to that? How did they respond to your tears and to your vulnerability? How did they respond to your rage? Everyone take a deep breath. How did they respond to you asking for what you want? How did they respond to you giving them feedback about where their parenting could have been better if you gave them that feedback? Were you shunned, shamed, dominated, told to go to your room in any of those situations? Were you told that you were too much? Were you told that it's silly that you're feeling that way, or that what you're expressing didn't have ground? And there are overt and covert responses. If you just were ignored or not listened to, then that's covertly saying your truth isn't important and doesn't matter, or your needs aren't important and they don't matter. Were you rejected when you tried to share that you were unhappy with something that was happening in the house or what they were doing? Were you attacked? And this isn't about becoming a victim. This is about noticing, observing. Because however you were responded to in your expression growing up is usually what you're fearing now is going to happen when you express. How did your parents and primary caregivers respond to your truth, to your desires, to your needs, and to your emotions? And then I want you to feel into, I'm afraid that if I, and whatever it is, if I say what I need, I'm going to be disappointed. I'm afraid that if I express my anger, I'll be reprimanded or beaten. I'm afraid that if I express my truth and it's different to someone else's truth, they'll dominate me. I'm afraid that if I say what I want, I'll be accused of being selfish. I'm afraid that if I say what I need, I'll be laughed at. Whatever it is, just start to form some beliefs of why you're afraid to express. I'm afraid to share because I'll be rejected for being too sensitive. I'm afraid to express because I'll be told that I should be happy. Whatever it is. And then as you feel those different fears that live in your body, I want you to vibrate those fears through your body, but breathe into them. Remember the breath and the sound. Let there be an inhalation, then a sound and a shake. Let it out, let it out. Stuck energy in your body. Amazing. And now take it even deeper and feel the things that you're afraid of and then reflect it back to your childhood. So just say you're afraid to quit your job, right? I'm afraid to quit my job because, and then tie it to a belief of your parents, because money doesn't grow on trees, or because security is the most important thing. Or just say you're afraid to ask for what you need right now in a certain situation. So I want you to tie it to a certain situation in your life that's happening now, right? So I'm afraid to put myself out there on social media, and then think about like what putting yourself out there was like growing up, because my expression will be rejected. Does this make sense? Yeah? Any questions about that? So now I want you to find the belief that is tied to something specific. So for me, the one I'm working with right now is I'm afraid to not launch anything new and to stop the momentum, because momentum is the most important thing, most important part of purpose, right? Because that is actually what I was taught. So then I get to feel that. So feel yours. Tie something that you're experiencing that's difficult right now to a belief of your parents, and then feel that through your body. Feel that fear in your body as you recognize it, and give it sound and movement. I'm afraid to fully commit to this relationship because relationships are hard work. Maybe that was a message. I'm afraid to commit to this woman because she's going to suck my life force. Relate it back to your childhood. I'm afraid to open my heart to this man because I'll be abandoned like I was from my father. Give it sound. I'm afraid to have this confronting conversation because I'll be reprimanded or ignored. Feel it in your body. So our fears of rejection, our fears of reprimand, our fears of punishment, our fears of being disappointed, our fears of being dominated, our fears of following our heart are directly related to how much that was encouraged or discouraged by our primary caregivers. So we need to rewire that. And the only way we can really rewire that is by getting proven otherwise. And one of the biggest things that I see is that rather than risking reprimand, rather than risking confrontation, rather than risking being rejected, rather than risking failing, what most people do is they won't have the difficult conversations. There'll be this fucking elephant in the room. Everyone can see the elephant, right? In people's expression, like the metaphorical elephant. You can see it because people's expressions change and you can feel it, the energy shifts. There's something going on, but everyone just ignores it. Who grew up in a household where things were swept under the carpet and not aired as they happened? Right. Everyone in the room except for Sadell. So the interesting thing with Sadell is that she, especially, like now she's become more discerning, but she used to trigger everyone, especially my partners. Like Matisse is the first partner that she's never triggered. Has she ever? Probably sometimes.
Matisse, I've never triggered you, please.
Well, you've never had that out with her.
Serious issues. No, I had serious issues.
Yeah, she had serious issues, so a trigger that was then projected onto her, I should say. So, and the thing is, because she says how she feels, says what she wants and says what she needs, and obviously I have this as well, it's very confronting for people, right? And the reason I'm bringing this to attention is that you can't be fully expressed and not trigger people. I remember the first time I started really expressing and teaching, and this woman just went haywire on me on Facebook and was saying that police came to my workshop and I'd had sex in the workshop in front of everyone and I got taken off in a divvy van. Like, it was absolute bullshit. And I wasn't allowed to teach in any venue in Perth as a result of this, which completely backfired on her because one of my friends ended up converting her house into a space and it was right by the beach. So we had this amazing temple with like silks on the ceiling and open windows with the ocean breeze coming through. This was early in my career. And I didn't know what the fuck to do. Like, I wasn't responding to anything on Facebook. Everyone was like, respond, say that you didn't do that. I'm like, I actually don't even want to engage with this. But I did speak to Bruce. And I'll never forget the conversation. And Janine was with him, so it was with both of them, who are both my mentors, but I called him. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. This is what's happening. And he just laughs with his big, I'm like, Bruce, this is not funny. Why are you laughing? And he's like, because I'm so proud of you. And he's like, you know that you're in your soul expression when you're triggering the fuck out of people and they're wanting to destroy you. And then he laughs again. And then Janine went on to use people in history and say, like, if you think about Jesus, Muhammad Ali, like went through a whole list of people, all of them experienced a pushback, because if you're here to bring more justice on the planet in some way, whether you're bringing justice through teaching people how to stand up and actually feel what they're feeling and say what they need and what they want, whether you're bringing justice through supporting harmony, like she went through everything. It's like we live in an anti-just society, right? There is no justice on this planet as a general theme. There's not a lot of justice, right? Do you all agree with that? Does anyone disagree with that? So if you're speaking up for justice, whether it's on a big scale or a small scale of just having a conversation with someone, it's going to ruffle feathers. So we could all be sitting around talking, and then you can feel some tension, maybe between two people, or you have tension with someone, whether it's hostile, whether it's sexual tension, whether it's like tension from the past and they're in the same room, and everyone just walks on eggshells around it. Oh, something weird's happening. I don't know what the fuck is going on. And I'll just keep quiet. I definitely don't keep quiet in that situation. Anyone who knows me, I'll straight away say, what are you feeling right now? Did that upset you when that person said that? Everyone just kind of looks at me like, did she really just say that? Yes, I fucking did, because I'm not going to sit here when it's really obvious that energy's happening. Or if we have something and he goes downstairs without addressing it, I'll storm down. Did you really just walk away and just pretend nothing happened and now you're making cacao? I get very defiant about it. I'm like, this is not justice. Like, I want to find, that's why I wanted to be a lawyer. I was born, like from a very early age, I wanted justice. And then I realized that being a lawyer was not going to lead to that, much to my absolute dismay. And then, eventually found my way to this work. So the only way you're going to recapitulate the patterning that you had as a child is to actually experience what it's like to express and not be attached to the outcome of that expression or dependent upon how your audience is going to receive you. And that doesn't mean that you're going to do that perfectly all the time. Like if you share something and you're not acknowledged, that can be difficult, right? And you may then get angry with them. But if there is a space of your expression being more dependent upon your own integrity rather than needing someone else to confirm your self-worth in that situation, then you might feel disappointed, you might feel sad, you might feel angry, you might feel like the relationship needs to end or you need to get out of the job or whatever, but you're able to process that. It's not like you've got this attachment to them getting it, which is extremely difficult, can be extremely difficult, right? So we switched to the age of Aquarian just last month, which is all about co-creation and collaboration. And part of the point of that exercise that I took you all through was to feel what's possible when superpowers come together and when gifts come together. Just imagine if I was running this retreat without Tara, without Matisse, without Lorinda, without Ben, without Susie, and without the support people. I'd be fucking smashed and wouldn't be able to deliver with the clarity that I'm delivering. You all wouldn't be receiving these amazing beings in the space. And it would change the whole experience, right? There's something beautiful about collaboration. And since I was 27, I've always had businesses and teams that have worked very well. And there's a reason for that. because I don't let anything fucking go unsaid. And I say it as it arises most of the time. The exception to that, which has shifted now, is I used to not be able to be vulnerable with Tara. And then when we were having a big breakdown in the business and I was ready to completely step away, I got really vulnerable with her and I said, I feel like you dropped me, that you've always been a mother figure for me, the only woman I've ever really fully trusted and relied on to hold me and nurture me. And I was like crying when I said it. Was so hard to say. Matisse encouraged me to speak to her honestly. And she was so beautiful. She's like, why haven't you ever said it this way? I want you to always be vulnerable with me. And that's actually what inspired her to then go right into the dark 3 months of the soul that she experienced. And we realized that actually she had a father projection on me where she expected me to always like hold strong and never abandon ship. And I had a projection on her of mother to always be nurturing and loving and hold me in a space of unconditionality. So once we became conscious of that and released that, then our relationship, working relationship and personal relationship, just went, like, we didn't think it was possible to love each other more or for the business to feel more cohesive than what it already did. And it just like expanded after that like you wouldn't believe. So it's important to have the conversations that are uncomfortable, because when you're sucking it up, when you're not saying anything, the mind is just going and going and going. And you're going into the past, you're planning the future, and how you do anything is how you do everything. And if you're stuck in the way you express yourself in your relationship, you're going to be stuck in the way you express yourself in your career and vice versa. Because this that you have on your expression, this strangulation, is going to be connected to the same thing. It's going to be connected to a similar piece, right? It's not like you can fully express without being focused on the person you're talking to out of the boardroom, but then in the boardroom, suddenly you get that superpower, right? Now, there is like, I tend to find it a lot easier. I've always found it a lot easier to express myself in work situations because it's more connected to like an objective truth that hasn't required my vulnerability. But then with Tantra, it's like, oh shit, this is a bit different here. I can't just I can't sort it out from my masculine. I actually need to feel and attune and give people a space to listen and share, and for me to role model that. So, you know, the team that Tara and I work with, we're always connected to their emotional bodies. They're not just robots who work for us. You know, we're tuning in with them in our meetings. We're expressing and releasing, we're sharing, and it's not like, trust me, I don't let it fucking go on and on and on. I'm not saying, you know, try and run a business and give the feminine complete leeway to process as much as she needs to process. There is a opportunity with everything you do for the masculine and the feminine to coexist in such a way that the feminine has expression. It's like, you know, the Matisse's group, when the men were around and the women were in the center, that was such a beautiful representation. It's like there's this solid container and then Shakti can flow in that container. But if that container's not there, it just goes... And then if just the masculine's there, what's he actually holding space for? There's nothing to hold space for. So he's either just going to go into the doing or he's going to go into the bypass. So these elements need to be in connection. So I'm going to give you a technique that you're going to practice with each other to support you in asking for what you want and what you need. Right? So I want you to close down your eyes and think about the last time that you were triggered, which was probably not that long ago, especially because you just did group work. Even just a subtle trigger. That's how you know. It's like I can observe people and go, oh, there's no depth there with that person, right? That's usually my first judgment of people. And I'm not one of those spiritual teachers who says, don't be judgmental. I just think it's fucking natural to have judgment. But again, like, I could be wrong, and I am a bit of a judgmental bitch sometimes. So you may have a judgment, right? You may just judge a situation. I think it's like, okay, I'm judging this situation. I can see there's not a lot of depth here. I can see that there's way too much emotional processing here. I can see that this person is saying the same fucking thing right now that they've said for the last 4 years, and they're probably not going to shift it unless they do something drastic to change their lives, whatever it may be. But if my body's relaxed when I'm having that thought, I know that it's not a trigger. If someone's doing something and I'm like, and I can feel that I want to kill the motherfucker, or I want to get right away from them and they're repulsing me, or they create a freeze in my body, then I'll either process it then and there, or I'll make a mental note. Because that right there is the key to my evolution as a human being, right? So close down your eyes and feel into the last time you were triggered. You wanted to run, you wanted to fight, or you went into freeze. And I want you to take yourself back to that moment. And you've all gone into chest breathing, which you probably did in that moment. So let's just breathe into the belly. First thing you do when you're triggered is breathe. Breathe into the belly and take your focus off the external into the internal and get very curious. So take yourself back into that moment. Breathe. And then allow some expression of that. Give that some breath, sound, and movement. You won't always need to do this, but do it now. Okay, now I want you to feel into one very simple acknowledgement of yourself. I feel, I need. If you could give one word, take yourself back into that moment, close down the eyes, stay with me. I feel sad, angry, frustrated, confused, rejected, afraid, what I need is and maybe it's from that person or maybe it's not. You just check it out inside your own being first. I feel, I need. And that would provide for me, or that would create a sense of safety or deeper relaxation. Or what would that provide you with? What would that give you? One sentence that doesn't shame, that doesn't go into story or blah, blah. Maybe you would need to share that sentence with someone, or maybe it's just a request. Could you please? So check it out. What would you have said in that situation if you had have just stopped resisting what you were feeling and closed down? If you hadn't resisted what you were feeling and got angry at them because they're causing you to feel this way, or resisted what you were feeling and pretended that it didn't fucking exist. What if you actually spoke up in that moment, and that you speaking up is exactly what that other person needs, if that requires it? And you know, sometimes I do this if I'm triggered by something, and actually I just need to go and have a sleep because I'm a grumpy bitch. Or I need some space, or I need to go and have a swim, or I, need to put my headphones on and listen to some music. Sometimes I need to share it. What is the consistent with all of it is I can't let it stay stuck in my body because I'm committed to authenticity. And if you're committed to authenticity and health, mental, physical, emotional health, don't leave energy stuck in your body. It will multiply. It will keep creating blockages in your expression. It will manifest and duplicate in your body. So find your sentence, whether it's something you just need in yourself, something that you need to share. The last time you were triggered, I feel, I need, and that would provide me with, or that would create a sense of. So the thing that is going to be most helpful for you with this tool is that when you tune into what you need, actually ask yourself what that would look like. Because if you don't know, they're probably not going to know either, right? And your request will be clearer the more clarity that you have. And sometimes you're not going to have to give it, like it's going to be obvious, right? Some of those examples, it was really obvious. But it can be even more vulnerable to ask for something specific. So, like if you noticed, Rosa actually said, I need a hug. Now that's a lot harder to say and be open to when you're triggered than I need acknowledgement, for instance, right? So it's like the specific need, and it's not like we always have time to feel and process. And to me, the sooner you can express, the better. Because if you wait, then you're going to have to explain the situation. You're going to be going into story. Whereas if something happens and in that immediate situation, you're saying, hey, I'm feeling frustrated. I need the communication to be clearer. And that's going to create more harmony here. Then it's going to be obvious, a lot more obvious. Does that make sense? And then, if sometimes when I think about what I need, I'm actually like, I realize that that's not their job, or that they can't actually give me what I need. So just say Matisse and I have had something and I go into my process, then I always ask myself, is there an I feel I need here? Oh, okay, I feel sad. I need reassurance, and that's going to provide me with safety. And then I'm like, what reassurance do I need? Okay, I need this and this reassurance. Why do I need that reassurance? And can I give it to myself right now? And then 9 times out of 10, I can. Actually, 9 times out of 10 that he triggers me, he doesn't even know he's triggered me. Because it's not actually about him. And what I find that happens a lot in relationship, not just with our partners, but with our kids, with our friends, is that the only way we can resolve it is by talking to them And unless you've got the framework I'm offering, it's by dumping on them. All right? And really what Tantra holds is a devotional energy in relationship where you're exalting someone into their greatness. So where you mostly want to be is not in the you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong, you're this, you're that, but in the celebration of that person, in the worshipful devotion of that person, right? But you don't want to go into bypass. You want to also acknowledge your own needs. And sometimes what you need, a lot of the times what you need can be up for question, as in, is this reasonable, right? But if you feel deeper in it and you listen to the truth of your body, you'll have that answer, right? Or just say you've tried to meet that need yourself and you actually can't. So to give you an example, I kept having this same process over and over again for about 2 weeks, where I kept feeling distant from Matisse and feeling like this energy, like thinking about breaking up, thinking maybe we're not meant to be together, getting triggered by little things. And then every time I went into it, and I was just like getting triggered whenever he wasn't having everything sorted. I'm like, it wasn't that bad that he didn't have this particular thing sorted or that sorted. And I'd go into it, and every time I went into it, it was, I feel sad, I need him to take care of me and the kids, and that would provide me with joy and safety. And I'm like, okay, I need to give myself that, right? How can I take care of and I kept doing that, and it kept showing up in my body, and I'm like, no, I actually don't want to fucking take care of myself and the kids anymore. I want someone to take care of me and the kids. Oh, he's 31. They're not his kids. Probably not a reasonable request, but it's here every fucking day. And one particular morning, it was just like vibrating through my whole body. And with unreasonable requests, you kind of have to get to the point of even more being unattached to the outcome and being willing to let the relationship go. And really, like, if you go to someone and you say, I feel sad and frustrated, I need some acknowledgement, or I need you to tell me that you love me and that you want to include me, and that will create safety. You have to be willing for them to say, no, I can't do that. Or I feel angry, I need you to fully choose me and tell me I'm your woman. You get real with it, and that's very vulnerable because you could be rejected. And so this is where the fear of rejection comes in. And so when I did say that to Matisse, eventually I did. And not only did I say, I want you to take care of me and the kids, I said, I want you to do that from a cosmic father energy. And yeah, he just closed his eyes and he meditated on that. And he's like, I don't know if I can do that. Now, I didn't get angry at him and say, oh, this was really vulnerable of me to ask, and now you're not answering me, you've rejected me. Like, sometimes I hear stories from men about women that I've taught this formula to, and then they say how angry she gets or upset she gets, that he says no, or that he can't answer right away. It's like, you have no right to take away someone's freedom. No right to take away someone's freedom. Every human being is an autonomous being. And if they can't capitalize on your best interests, if you love them, why would you want them to say yes? It's like, there's nothing that Matisse asks of me. When at the beginning of our relationship, he made it very clear that if I kept wearing makeup, he wasn't sure if he could keep being with me. And that he really didn't like it, right? And I'm like, and spiritual guys have said that to me before. But they've never like made it that important. They're like, you look so beautiful without makeup. You don't even need it. Like makeup's great, whatever they say about it. And I'm like, But this was serious. He was like really passionate about it. And he's like, you're teaching about authenticity and then you're covering your face. Like that doesn't feel good for me. So I sat with it. I'm like, okay, could I capitalize on this? Is this going to serve me? Because I'll always ask myself that. I am like my highest value in the fucking world is freedom. If someone takes away my freedom, they are not the person for me. And I've left every single relationship because I haven't felt free. And so I thought I'd do an experiment. If I'm not sure if I can capitalize on someone's best interests, I'll do an experiment. I'm like, all right, I'll see what it's like. I'm not going to wear makeup for 30 days. Oh my God. I'm looking in the mirror. I'm like, I can't cover anything up. What the fuck? I'm like, I felt completely naked. My mum literally says, hang on, I'll just put on my face. Like I've grown up where that's what you do. You wake up in the morning and you put on your face. And it was unbelievable. It was the most incredible 30 days of my life. And the funny thing was, people either didn't even notice I wasn't wearing makeup. I was expecting everyone to go, whoa, what happened to you? Or they were commenting how beautiful I looked. And then, you know, this has progressed, like letting my hair be curly. I used to straighten it all the time, and Matisse has gradually gotten any fake part of me out. So in that 30 days, I was very curious with men, and I was just asking every man, like, do you prefer women with or without makeup? Every single man that I asked said without. I'm like, are they for fucking real? And I'm like, maybe they're just... So I asked my son. I'm like, my kids, you know, they're just the speakers of truth. I said to Caleb, do you prefer women with makeup or without makeup? He's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah. He's like, without, obviously. I'm like, really? Is it that obvious? He's like, girls who wear makeup, it's just fake. Like, you don't even know what they look like. And I'm just like, fucking hell. There's a whole world that I never knew about. And then one guy who I asked about it, Frankie, who's like this kind of deep, dark soul, like, what do you think about the whole makeup thing? He's like, I can't trust a woman who wears makeup. Because I'm just seeing, especially if she wears a lot of makeup, I'm seeing this mask and I'm like, what else are you hiding? If you're hiding your face, what else are you hiding? He's like, I wouldn't even go on a second date with her. I'm like, shit, this is serious shit. Oh, wow. And then Sadell, you know, I was talking to Sadell, but she's like, Mum, there's no way I'm not going to wear makeup. Like, don't even try, when I first brought it up with her. She's 20, never wears makeup. Within a couple of months, she got on board. And she's fucking beautiful. And and once you start not wearing it, it's like, you know, I started to kind of every now and then putting my face back on. Like we went to a wedding and I thought, I'm not going to go to a wedding without makeup on. It was like when I was washing my face, my eyes were hurting. And I had like in the morning mascara, just things I'd never noticed. And I'm not saying, hey girls, don't ever wear makeup again. But it is an interesting experiment. And now it's like, I always thought when men said that I was beautiful, I didn't realise this, I'm only realising it in hindsight, that unconsciously I was like, yeah, but you don't know what I really look like. And now when men compliment me and desire me, I know I'm being desired for me and not what I'm covering myself up with. Yeah? So I definitely capitalised on his best interests. Not only me, but then I've helped so many women. Like my daughter, hands down, that was the best thing. Anything that I gift her, that's like, anything's a bonus. You know, if I can serve my children and everything, literally every single thing that Matisse needs serves my children, because he's had such an incredible mother. His being demands unconditional love. It's like unconditional love and above, and anything that's not that, and I'm going to get really sad about that or frustrated and angry. And then through loving him in that way, an adult who can speak up for himself, I start to learn all the ways that I wasn't loving my children, which is so beautiful, right? And I'm pretty sure it's the same for him, that like whatever I'm needing, he's able to expand through that. And both of us get the comments, like the amount of people have said to me, I can't believe how much Matisse has changed since he's been with you. We went to a wedding with all of his mates, and they're like, he's just so much more confident and in himself and expressed. And then people say to me, you're so much more relaxed and happy and radiant. So it's like when you're getting that feedback, you know that the relationship is the right relationship. And if your partner is asking for what they need and you're not going to benefit from that, you're not compatible. And that's sometimes hard to take. It's like my second husband, what he needed from me was not, I couldn't capitalize on that. It was like, it felt like entrapment. It felt like shrinking myself most of the time, right? So everyone take a deep breath. And I want you to close your eyes and imagine what your life would be like if instead of contracting when you had a trigger, shutting down, maybe bitching about it in your own head or with some friends, shaming the person, running away, ignoring it when it's fucking obvious something's going down, that you said how you felt and what you needed and what that would give you. And it doesn't have to, like, that formula is good internally and it's a good starting point. It doesn't always have to be that formula. But just that you focus on you, how you feel and what you need. Thanks for listening to the Love, Sex and Freedom podcast. For more great free resources, in-person and online workshops and our retreats, find us on Instagram and Facebook at Embodied Awakening Academy or visit embodiedawakeningacademy.com.